What's happening, guys? Kenny here again, and today I've got a different kind of video for you. It's really just going to be kind of like clearing some things up and letting you guys know how Kurt's trip to Peter's heat treat went. For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, this isn't going to make sense. Anyone who's been following the things going on in the M390 world, like in the heat treat testing, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you might want to pass on this video. Although I do talk about Kurt and the HRC testing, so it is relevant to pretty much everyone who subs to me. So just to kind of preface this and let you guys know a little bit of what's going on, although I'm not going to be very specific, okay? And the reason for me not being very specific is, for one, I'm not part of this, in a sense of, it's not my knife. I wasn't part of the situation until, recently. I'm really just doing this to clear things up for Kurt, kind of speaking for Kurt here. So I'm only going to attest to the things that I have knowledge of and that I know for sure. I'm not going to state anything that's up in the air or might be someone's opinion. I'm going to state things that only I know as fact. And then also cut testing and stuff like that. I'm not gonna talk about any of that because I'm not doing it. I'm going to let Gerald or Steve or those guys that are doing the testing attest to that, because it's not my personal information. And a lot of this isn't my personal information, but it's coming to me directly from Kurt to report to you. And the reason I'm doing this and the reason that I have to do this is because Kurt has deleted his accounts. I do want to explain why Kurt deleted his accounts. This whole thing just got a lot bigger than we had expected. When we started this whole thing, it was just us testing our knives because we were curious. It wasn't an attempt to find bad results. It was an attempt to just confirm, what was going on, what was supposed to be. So that's how this all started. And then the cut testing, kind of went with it. And we found that, wow, these results are in line directly with the hardness of the steel and all these things. And then this all, it's all evolved to this point. So it wasn't the intention at the beginning, but it's evolved. And in saying that, it's brought a lot of heat and attention to Kurt, which he wasn't necessarily comfortable with. Obviously, Kurt doesn't have a channel. Kurt doesn't do this to have a channel. We're out here, I'm out here in front of all you guys, so this is my place. Kurt wasn't necessarily wanting to be part of that, but it then came to him, and it overwhelmed him, to be honest, and Kurt had to back off because it was too much for him with his life. It was just too much. So that's why Kurt deleted his accounts, and that's why he's not reachable right now, guys. But if you have any questions or you need to talk to Kurt, or you want your knives tested, Kurt's still testing. Everything's still going on. You just have to send it to one of the channels, like me, Steve, Super Still Steve, Gerald, Outpost 76, Alchemy 1, Banner 24/7. If you want a knife tested, you can get in contact with us, and we will have the knife tested for you, and it will be taken care of in the way that we all should take care of these things, and I'll touch on that at the end as well. But that's what this is all about. And I just want to put that out there. Kurt took down his accounts because it was overwhelming, guys. This can be very overwhelming for those of you guys that don't know what we go through as channels. Not only do you have to deal with people asking you legitimate questions, but you have to deal with people that just want to cause problems, people that are literally trolling and just creating problems, or they just want to go and talk negatively on each video they watch, and that's what they do. So it's a lot to deal with, and Kurt has a lot going on, so he couldn't deal with it, and that's why he backed out. But in saying that, he's still there, he's still doing what he's doing, he's just letting us be the face. So yeah, and really what this video is about is his trip to Peter's heat treat, which was a verification on a few numbers. We wanted to verify a blade that came up low, and he was, like I said, Brad was chosen by a third party to test the knives that came up low, with the knife that came up low. So in saying that, what happened was Kurt went to Peters, met with Brad. Brad is like the lead of the knife division at Peters. Or he took his day off. He came in with Kurt, not only just to do the testing with Kurt, but he also gave Kurt a full tour of the shop, talked to Kurt, went over Kurt's methodology, went over the testing that we've been doing, looking at our results and and he's been following it somewhat too, so he had some knowledge of what was going on already. So in saying that, they went right at it, and Kurt, they tested the knife in question, or the blade in question first, and it actually came up different. We got a higher reading from Brad's machine. So Brad, they found a 59.1 reading on the Lion Steel Dom that had been tested lower from Kurt and tested multiple times. So this thing had been tested probably 4 or 5 times from Kurt, and then Brad tested it 4 or 5 times, and it actually came up within spec on Brad's testing. And then there were 2 other knives that were tested. So there was a Lion Steel tray that was also tested by Kurt and came up with a low HRC number. I think Kurt hit it 3 times and it came up within the point variance we expect to see, like 0.5 high, 0.5 low. Came up within that point variance we would expect. And then Brad hit that same knife and it came up within a 0.5 spread variance of what Kurt got. So actually the Lion Steel tray just confirmed Kurt's testing. And then the other knife that was tested was a Spyderco 4V sprint run, which Kurt had tested in like the 65.3 range, like low, like 65s, and then Brad tested it in the higher 65 range, and they actually were within 0.5 variance, and that again just confirms Kurt's testing. So we did have one that did come up different, and it did not confirm Kurt's testing. It came up higher. And then we had the 2 that did confirm Kurt's testing. So that's the report from Peters Heat Treat. And I also want to say that Brad had confirmed everything about Kurt's methodology. Brad was like, yeah, you're doing everything the way I would do it, the way you present it. The guy, he's, like I said, he had been kind of following this whole thing. So Brad was like, yeah, you guys are doing great stuff. All this testing you're doing seems to be coming up within what I would have found, how I would have done it. The way that Kurt, calibrates the machine and uses the machine is properly done. Brad also confirmed, well, when they came up with that variance, with that one that was like an outlier, they said like, they both were just kind of questioning like, what's going on? How did this happen? And he had 2 things that he thought might have happened that could have caused it, and Kurt was like, no, there's no way, I do that naturally. So it's just, yeah, we just don't know what's going on with that. So in saying that, it was a positive visit, guys. It really mostly confirmed how Kurt does his stuff. It confirmed that Kurt knows what he's doing and that he's definitely in line with how we've been doing it. So yeah, that's that with that situation. And what I do want to talk about now is I want to talk about the fact that we're trying to raise money for Kurt to get Kurt his own machine. And the reason for that is at the time being, right now, Kurt's doing this on the machine at work on his time off, and he has to go back on his time off and do this, and it's taking up his life. You know what I mean? I can't even explain to you guys the time it takes to do this. Much less what Kurt's doing, trying to test a bunch of knives and get as much done as he can. And guys, there's so many knives. Everyone's sending everything, and it's just like, it's overwhelming. So what we want to do is we want to get Kurt his own machine that he can have at his house, in his garage, and be able to do this testing at home. It would save him time. He'd be able to do more knives. We wouldn't be able to get the PMI reading, which is okay. We're finding that most knives are within what they're supposed to be with the PMI. And anything we have a question on, he can always PMI test it on it, when he can. But there's a lot more. We're more worried about like getting HRC numbers, not as much about PMI testing. So when we need the PMI gun, and of course in the case of like the CRK handle and stuff, we'll definitely be testing more and finding out more with the PMI. But we don't need to do every knife necessarily. So it's more about the HRC numbers. We've found that after this amount of time of testing and everything, that hundreds of knives, that the PMI is mostly right on with most of the stuff. But HRC is a different story. You know, we want to see more of that. And of course, correlate it with the testing. So in saying that, we just need to, we want to try and get Kurt a machine. Now, it's not that much money, actually, guys, to get Kurt a machine, and I feel like if everyone just puts a little bit in, we can get it for him really quickly, especially across all the channels. I'm sure we'll be able to raise the money fairly quickly. And then, saying that, we're going to keep the account open to keep money coming back whenever someone wants to, you know, give money to the cause. What we'll do is we'll then use that to service the machine, because we're going to have the machine tested. We don't want to lose any of our credibility. So what we're going to do is, his machine at work is calibrated every 60 days. We're going to make sure that his machine at home is calibrated every 90 days. And the reason for 90 instead of 60 is because we're not using that machine like the one at his work is being used. That thing is hitting 500 hits a day. It needs to be calibrated more constantly. So the machine at home will be calibrated every 90 days, so we know it's still happening, being serviced at least once a year, just like the machine at work, and make sure that it's being taken care of, and we're testing it and calibrating it with you know, the calibrating anvils and stuff like that to make sure that, or not anvils, but the calibrating discs, to make sure that it's still hitting correctly. So we're gonna make sure we do the extra and go above and beyond to make sure we're getting everything, you know, third-party tested and stuff. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. We're gonna make sure that things, when we started this whole thing, we really were trying to go the extra mile. Get in touch with the manufacturers, get in touch with the distributors, let them know what's going on before we post things. And that's the way we usually do things. Just so you guys know, things got kind of sideways on the knives in question here, and that's not the way things are supposed to go about, and that's not the way we do things. There was a disconnect kind of between like LTK and the group, and there's just a disconnect of information, and I think it ended up in something that it was just misinformation being put out there, and just not necessarily going doing the due diligence that we do in all of these cases. So yeah, moving forward, we'll definitely make sure we go the extra mile to make sure that things have been confirmed before we release the information. Also, now if Kurt has his own machine, that's one more machine in the triangle. And the other part of the triangle would actually be Brad at Peter's Heat Treat, because this is another thing. If he didn't think Kurt was legit in what he does, then Brad wouldn't have offered the olive branch of like saying like, hey guy, anytime you need a knife, you know, anytime you need to be confirmed, anytime you need that, you come up with a weird number and you want to confirm it, just bring it on up to us. They're like 40 miles away. He's like, just bring it to me and I'll check it again for you. So that's another third party. That's gonna be another place that we can confirm our results. So now we'd have Kurt's machine, the machine at his work, and Peter's Heat Treat. That would just even give us more of a confirmation on what's going on if we have something that's an outlier or something that's weird. And that would just add another aspect. And then we can always find another, I think we have another place where we can send another machine shop. So we're just trying to like back ourselves up and make sure that we have all the information we need. And that's the idea, guys. This isn't about getting anyone in trouble. This isn't about getting any manufacturer like under the fire. This is about finding the truth, guys, and being honest. And I also want to say to any of my subs and followers, guys, let's be very careful about the way we approach these things. There's a lot of parties involved, you know, not only the people that you're attacking or going after, but then there's the people that work for them that are just innocent bystanders that are just going to feel the heat of what you're doing. So we're trying to do our due diligence to put facts out there that have backing, and we're trying to not damage companies here. We're just trying to get what we're paying for, essentially, guys. We're just trying to hold people accountable, hold companies accountable, and that's all this is about. It's just getting the truth and make sure that we're getting the products we pay for. And in saying that, we don't want to do it in the wrong way. We don't want to come off the wrong way. We don't want to attack anybody personally. This is all just about the truth. And guys, please, I'm not much of a meme guy myself, but I understand and I can laugh at memes. You know, I feel like an old guy sometimes because I kind of miss the meme train, and I like to just put words out there. If I have a feeling, I'll say it. But I don't really understand the meme thing. I have a sarcastic sense of humor, so I get it, but I don't necessarily operate that way. So it's fine if you guys have something to say, but just make sure that you make it concise and put it in one. You know what I mean? Like, make one comment. Don't overload it, guys, because it got out of control. It did. It got out of control, and I just don't think that's not what we're trying to do. So please, if out of respect for me, out of respect for the group, out of respect for Kurt, guys, please just don't go crazy with it. Just try and keep it friendly. You know what I mean? Because we're all part of a community here, and this is all just about, we all love knives. You know what I mean? That's all this is about. Is we all love knives. We all love cutting with knives. We all this is our thing. So let's not attack anyone personally or any companies personally. And of course, the way they respond also affects the way we respond, but let's just keep it friendly for the most part. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for, I hope this came across correctly. I hope I covered everything. I know there's a lot to cover. Oh, and guys, if you do want to support the cause for Kurt, and you want to give some money and anything, guys, if you don't give us anything, it's fine. But if you want to just give $2, if you want to give $3, anything's gonna help. But you can send it to, we've created a PayPal. It's gonna be under Coolerkw at yahoo.com is the PayPal account. So COLLERKW at yahoo.com will be the PayPal account that you can send anything to, guys, anything. And I'll go ahead and put it in the description of this video as well at the bottom. I'll put a link to that PayPal account so that you guys can send anything you can. All right, so to wrap things up, we have 2 knives that tested, just confirming Kurt's testing, just confirms Kurt's testing. And then we have 1 knife that came up, out of what Kurt tested. So we do have one that was just a weird one. And yeah, that's just the gist of it. And then of course, Kurt leaving Instagram and YouTube, due to like just life, guys, being busy with life, and then having this on top of it. And then also the trying to get Kurt the machine. That's the big thing, to try and not only bring us another machine that would be confirming things, but that would also allow Kurt to have a life and be able to do more with the time he has. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this came across the right way, and I hope I hit everything, because there's a lot to talk about. So thanks a lot. Have a great day.